So there was a country that had been war-torn for years, and the king wanted to be able to display something that would bring hope to his people. He wanted to be able to put something on display that would give them an image to consider in the midst of all the struggle that their country had been in. And so he put out a decree calling all artists, I want a picture of peace. Submit your entries in 2 weeks' time. 2 weeks go by and the submissions start coming in. 10, 20, 50, 75, 100, 150. These paintings from all over the country of peace come rolling in, and they're turned in at the palace. And the king has some assistants that were previewing the paintings, and they were going to bring him the top 3. And the first one that they brought to him was a beautiful picture of nature, of a sunrise, of a meadow, the flowers and the person who painted it this is peace. Then they brought in the second entry. And it was this picture of not just nature, but humanity interacting. Of a young boy fishing at the side of a stream, secluded, away from people, restful. He said, this is peace. The third one was of a family itself coming together. This is peace and harmony. Look at that. You look at that and you just go, oh, right? The king looked at all 3 of these submissions and he said, that may be calm. That may be serenity. It's not peace. Bring me all the other submissions. And the king himself went through each of the other submissions, and one by one, he rejected them. As he saw all the beautiful flowers, as he saw all the beautiful sunsets and sunrises, as he saw the beautiful animals and the nature and all these things, he said, nope, those are not peace. Until finally, he came to a work of art submitted by a man that was sort of on the outside. He wasn't one of the most famous artists in the country. He wasn't respected by everybody. He didn't have a big name. And in fact, he had some odd ideas that people had a hard time getting a hold of. But the king looked at this painting and he said, this is what I believe peace is. In the midst of a raging storm, rain pouring down, lightning, thunder, exposure, there is peace. For these baby chicks, they are experiencing peace under the cover of their mother's wings. In the midst of absolute chaos, in the midst of a situation where you'd go, that's not peace, that's terrifying. Lightning, thunder, up at the top of a tree, fully exposed, how is that peace? And yet, as these baby chicks choose to rest under the shelter of their mother's wings, they're able to experience peace. And this is something that around Christmas time you hear it a lot of songs talk about peace on the earth and goodwill to men. And we sing about peace. We talk about peace. How many of you in this room right now, you're not peaceful about something that you would love to experience some peace, right? We are all there. We've all got something, whether it's a relationship or it's a situation or it's a job or whatever it may be. We all experience this thing of just going, I just want some peace. And there are some things that I believe that we need to consider, that we can look at in the Bible that God has to say to us about peace and why we miss peace. And I'll tell you guys, I wrestle with this. I struggle because it's so easy to go, all right, tomorrow's a new day, right? And we hope for peace in the new day. We hope that somehow the situation will get resolved or something will just go away or whatever it is. And we get this idea of peace in our mind. And when we lock into this idea of what peace is, it's hard to see anything else. And so some of the things that I'm going to say tonight are going to be unbelievable. Some of the things that I'm going to say, you're going to go, ain't going to work. And I want to challenge you where your mindset is. And are you so locked into the idea that this is peace? This is peace. This is peace. And anything other than this is unacceptable. Anything other than this isn't going to work. And we're going to see what Jesus says will work. But it's not all going to just be, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. This picture doesn't make any sense if we're going to define it as peace. And yet that's exactly what the Bible is going to tell us. That's exactly what Jesus is going to tell us. First thing we need to understand is that the Bible promises that we can have peace beyond our understanding. Here's the only way that that's possible. Peace beyond our understanding can only come from a God that is beyond our understanding. Let me say that again. Peace beyond your understanding. So when we get to talking about how you can have peace and we go, no way. No way. There's no way that I'm going to have peace in this situation. There's no way I'm going to have peace in this family. When we start talking about that, we need to understand and consider, what is our view of God? Who do we believe God to be? Because the only way we are ever going to have peace beyond our understanding, the only thing that can provide peace beyond our understanding is a God beyond understanding. And that the things that God does, the ways that God moves, the things that God chooses to use in our life to bring us peace. Last week we talked about joy and how easy it is to just go, well, I'm going to try this to get joy. I'm going to try that to get joy. And we ignore the source of joy. This is one of those things where if we want peace, are we willing to go to the source of peace? And we're going to have to. Some of you are in situations right now in your life where you've got no other option. You have tried to have peace. You have hoped things would work out, and they're not working out. Things are not fair. Things are not the way you want them to be. And you're stuck. And tonight, I hope my prayer, as I was praying for you guys this morning, as I was praying for this time, my prayer is that we would be able to embrace this idea that we can have a relationship with a God that is beyond our understanding. Imagine if I were able to sit here on this stool and completely explain God to you. I had all the answers. I knew I was able to figure out all the reasons God did stuff. I was able to think about it and consider and figure out all the reasons that he allows stuff to happen. Or if I can figure out God, he's not that big of a God, right? Are we all willing to acknowledge that? So, and the same goes for you, and I'm sure many of you are way smarter than I am, but even so, if you can figure out God, how big of a God could he be? And so there's this part of it, and we're going to talk more about that in the new year when we go through our series. There's a part of this where I'm glad I don't have all the answers. As much as I want to, I'm glad that there is a mystery to God. And I'm glad that there is a God beyond my understanding, because it's only going to be that God who's going to be able to give me peace beyond my understanding. I'm pretty sure you'd be able to calm me down. If I were having a hard day or I was freaking out, I'm pretty sure that you'd be able to calm me down. I'm pretty sure that if I was all stressed out about a situation and I called Josh up, I'm like, dude, I don't know what to do. Josh would be able to say some things that intellectually would make me go, how long does that last? Not long. Yeah, maybe 20 minutes. Maybe until you hang up the phone and you realize, he didn't do anything to fix my problem, right? We can have a relationship with a God who's beyond our understanding, which means he can give us a peace beyond our understanding. And he's able to do immeasurably more than anything we could hope for or even imagine. That's who I want to go to for peace. In the book of Philippians, which is a letter that Paul wrote to the church in Philippi, look at this. Look at the first thing he says. Do not be anxious about anything. Paul's out of his mind, right? You look at that and you're like, yeah, right, Paul. Right. Now, if this was just a pep talk, if this was just Paul going, hey, don't be anxious about anything. You can do it. Well, have you been able to do it so far? Nope. Don't be anxious about anything. Things will get better. In some of your situations, have things gotten better? Nope. Don't worry about anything. Tomorrow's a new day. And I'll go through this again tomorrow, right? There's all of these things. But here, it doesn't stop with just a pep talk. He says, don't be anxious about anything. Instead, the way that you can not be anxious is go into God in prayer. Look at it. It says, but in everything, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God. When we do that, look at verse 7. What does he say will happen? Verse 7. Oh, you don't have a 7 up there. Sorry. With thanksgiving, present your request to God, and the peace of God, which transcends, which means goes beyond, all our understanding, will guard your hearts and minds. Part of our issue with being able to find peace is that our hearts are fully exposed. And all the things that we're going through, all the things that we're struggling with, is just beating us to death. Here it's going, the things that are beating you to death, instead of just letting them beat you to death, go to God. And when you go to God and you surrender to him, when you go to Jesus and you go, all right, I'm stuck, I need help, then the peace of God, which is beyond your understanding, will guard your heart and mind. Some of you, your hearts are completely unguarded. You don't have an ounce of protection because you're not going to the one who can give you peace beyond your understanding. You keep going to the things that you do understand. You keep going to the things that you go, okay, well, if I just go along with what my friend wants me to do, then I'll have peace. If I just do what my girlfriend wants me to do, then we'll have peace. If I just, close my door and turn my music up loud enough so I can't hear my parents scream at one another, then I'll have peace. And your hearts are fully exposed. And tonight I want to encourage you, Jesus is here to go, look, I will give you a peace. I'll give you the peace that you're afraid to ask for. I'll give you the peace that you're afraid I'm not going to be able to give you because nothing else has been able to do it so far. And our level of anxiety over a situation can be a measuring stick for where our faith is at and how we're trusting in God. Do you ever consider that? Here it says, look, God will guard your heart and give you a peace that goes beyond your understanding. So if I am still racked with anxiety and stress, that's an indicator that I may not be going to God, that I may not be surrendering to him and asking him and inviting him to be sheltering me with his wings. In John 14, he says, this is Jesus talking. He goes, I will ask the Father, and he will give you another counselor to be with you forever, the Spirit of truth. The world cannot accept him because it neither sees him nor knows him, but you know him, for he lives with you and will be in you. First thing it says here, he'll give you another advocate to help you, and he'll be with you forever. The idea that Jesus will be with you, that the Holy Spirit is in you and with you and will never leave you, that should give us peace, shouldn't it? But not if I'm depending on all these other things. The fact that the living God is with you and is willing to walk with you and talk to you and help you and give you hope and wisdom and joy, that should give us peace. It says he'll lead us to truth. All the other stuff that the world says, hey, try this. Try popularity. That'll make you happy. Try success. Get straight A's and then you'll have peace. Get class president, then you'll have peace. Get a boyfriend, then you'll have peace. Move out of your house, then you'll have peace. Some of you are like, no, that would work. That would. And yet all of those things are the things that distract us from going to the one who's going, look, I'm going to give you peace beyond your understanding. The stuff that you're going to try or the stuff that the world says, hey, this is a surefire thing, those are not truth. Those are not lasting. Those are the things that distract us from being able to have peace. And we've all tried it, right? We've all tried something in our life to gain peace about a situation or whatever. And like we said before, how long does it last? Might get you through the day. Might get you through the week. You might actually feel good about it for a really long time. And then when it lets you down, it's almost like the longer it seemed like it worked, the harder the fall is. Because now you fall right back to here, yeah? The world has all these things. And here it says, look, the world cannot accept him because it neither sees him or knows him. The world is not able to know peace because it doesn't recognize the Spirit of God. It's not looking for the Spirit of God. Some of you here tonight, you haven't been looking for the Spirit of God, even though you come to youth group. You're not looking for the Spirit of God. You're coming to youth group. And I guarantee this place will let you down. I guarantee that there is nothing I can say that's going to give you peace. I might make you feel better for the night. I might tell you, so I remind you that God loves you, and I, speak truth in that way. But if that's all it is to you, if it's just a pep talk, join a football team. Join a sports team or a dance troupe or something where you're going to get pep talks all the time. It says the world doesn't get it. It doesn't understand it. And that brings us to this place of, do you know God tonight? And is the God you know, is the God that you hear about here, the God that you are believing and accepting the truth? And do you trust him enough to allow him to give you peace? Do you know him? And I want to challenge you, if you're in this place where you're going, I have no peace, and you find yourself trying all these different things, do you really know God? A little bit later in that same chapter in John 14, Jesus says, I'm leaving you a gift. Like, hold on, Jesus, you're leaving? Hold on. No, we like you around. You give us what? Peace. Man, when Jesus was around, the disciples were fearless. When Jesus was around, they were bold, they were excited, they were passionate. When Jesus wasn't around, they were kind of dumb. They were a little bit dumb. Did some dumb things. So he goes, hey guys, I'm leaving. Whoa! Don't worry. I'm going to give you a gift. Is it another you? And he said this, I'm going to give you a gift, peace of mind and heart. And the peace I give is a gift the world cannot give. So don't be troubled and afraid. Here we have Jesus. And again, you're at a point of decision. Are you going to trust that Jesus is God? and that what Jesus says is the Word of God. What Jesus promises are the promises of God. You've got to come to that decision. If you come to that decision that Jesus is God, how much are you going to trust him? And when he says, hey, I'm leaving, what goes through your mind? Yeah, great. Thank you for stringing us along, JC. This is wonderful, right? Now, do you think they felt better with Jesus in the room or when he wasn't in the room? In the room. Absolutely. Jesus, they loved Jesus around. It's the same reason you would go and sleep in your parents' bed, right? You get scared at night. Some of you are like, yep, last night. Yep. Last time the thunder went, right? My wife used to, when she got too old to climb in bed, with her parents, that they would go, no, you need to go back to your room. She would curl up, not like a dog or anything, but she would lay outside her parents' bedroom door just to be a little bit closer, right? That's the reason we love that security. That physical presence is huge. And so often, it's the physical stuff that we think is going to bring us peace. It's the physical stuff that we can touch or that we can take or that we can interact with that we go, hey, this is the thing that's going to bring us peace. And the disciples believe the same thing about Jesus. They're like, whoa, you're leaving? He goes, don't worry, I'm going to give you a gift. And it's this gift of peace. And it's a peace that the world can't give you. So if we believe that Jesus is God, and if we believe that what Jesus promises is true, are you willing to take his word for it when he tells you the world cannot give you the peace you're looking for? Will you believe it? When I was growing up, I grew up in Alta Loma, and behind my house was a huge field. And over to the side of the field were some horse pens, stalls, what do you call it? Something where you keep a stall, a stable, yeah. Where they had a bunch of horses. And there was a fence lining the property. And there were signs all over the fence. It said electric fence, danger, Kentucky Fried Chicken, right? And this was so that if the horses ever tried to bump up against the fence to knock the fence down, it would shock them, but it's a horse, right? This was on the people side of the fence, all the signs. We're on the people side of the fence going, look, there's a wire around this fence. You touch it, it's going to be a shocking experience, all right? Well, as a third grader, a fourth grader, I saw those signs. I was like, oh my gosh, an electric fence. And even my parents, they're like, don't touch that fence. That'll hurt. Oh, okay, I won't. And I look, oh, caution, peligro, it just did. And then I got a little bit older. I got into like 6th grade. And I'm like, I wonder what that feels like. Then I got into 7th grade and completely lost my mind. I don't think I made a good choice in 2 years, from 7th grade to 8th grade. And at one point, my friend, who was my next door neighbor, Daniel, we went back there, and Daniel did what most great friends do to their friends. Hey, dude, touch it. And I was like, should I? I immediately opened the door to stupidity right there. He's like, yeah, you totally should. Now, I'm somebody who doesn't do things halfway. So I didn't walk over to the wire and go like, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And I walk up and I'm like, dude, I'm not going to die, am I? He's like, I don't know, do it. So I'm like, and I grabbed the wire. I didn't just touch it. I didn't go, oh, ooh, it's live. Okay, if I ever get a time machine, that's what I'm doing. I'm going back. Daniel, hold my hand. I'm not holding your hand. Okay, so I reach out and I just go, I don't even think I had touched it yet. And this thing shocked the boogers out of me. All of a sudden, I'm going, whoa, And I let go, and I stood there, and I just sort of shook for about 30 seconds. It was like, oh my gosh, that hurts so bad. And then I did what every good friend does. I looked at Daniel and said, dude, you gotta do it. And Daniel was like, dude, you're an idiot. I'm not doing that. At that moment, I was unwilling to take the word of the sign seriously. I wasn't willing to take their word for it. I wasn't willing to believe that what was there could hurt me. And here we have Jesus telling us, look, you guys, the peace that you're looking for, the peace that every single one of you is looking for in your life, in different areas, the peace that you're looking for, the world cannot give you. I'll say it again because some of you got to hear it. The peace that you're looking for, the world cannot give you. It gets tricky sometimes because there are those moments where the world, the people in the world, the people around you have the very best intentions. They want to help you so bad. Some of them don't want to help you. Some of them, they're like my friend who told me to grab the wire. And you're dumb enough to listen to him. The peace that you're looking for, the world cannot give you. And that is why the success is never enough. It's why the money's never enough. It's why the popularity's never enough. It's why varsity wasn't enough. It's why a girlfriend's not enough, a boyfriend's not enough. As you get older, a husband is not going to be enough, a wife is not going to be enough. That promotion is not going to be enough, and yet these are all going to be things that the world is going to go, this will give you peace. And I want you to remember this. The gift I give is a gift the world cannot give. Can't do it. With the best intentions, the world cannot do this. And it's only if we are willing to believe that we shouldn't be troubled or afraid. If you think the world can give you peace, be afraid. Be very afraid. Because you are going to get let down, and you are going to get hurt, and you are going to be disappointed and disillusioned, and it's going to break my heart, and it's going to break the heart of God. Because the truth is that it's only Jesus and his plan for your life, his direction for your life, that can give you peace. And it's hard because it's in the midst of the storms. And we have to choose. See those baby chicks in that picture? They could have walked out from under those wings anytime they wanted. They didn't have to stay there. They chose to stay there. They recognized the protection of their mom. They recognized the place that they had, that this was the only way they were going to have peace in the midst of this storm. Some of you are choosing to walk out from under the protection of God. You have faith. You're trying to trust God. You want to trust God. You believe God is who he says he is, and yet you're continuing to walk out from under that protection of God. And then you get hurt and you run back, and you're like, oh gosh, that hurts so bad. And God goes, I'm so glad you came back. I love you. I forgive you. I'll hold you. And over in my life, I've gone, okay, I'm good now. Off I go again. The gift of peace that Jesus gives, the world cannot give. In chapter 16, a little bit later in that book of John, Jesus is talking to his disciples. He says, you believe at last, but a time is coming, this is the good news, the time is coming and has come when you will be scattered, each to his own home. Remember that whole idea of we like physical presence, right? We like being close to people who can keep us safe. We like being close to people that are like-minded, that are going to, we're all going to be doing the same thing. We like that. That's why we're on teams. That's why there's gangs. This is a very important thing for us. Okay? He goes, the time is coming when you will be scattered, each to his own home, which is terrifying. You will leave me all alone. Yet I am not alone, for my Father is with me. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world, here's the good news, in this world you will have trouble. Thanks, Jesus. Why don't you just stay? You can be our bodyguard. You can just make all the trouble go away. We don't have to go through all that trouble. Just stay here. Right? In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. See, there's this thing that we feel like we need where, oh, if Jesus was right here with us, well, then I wouldn't have a problem. Then I'd be satisfied. Jesus said, I'm leaving. And everybody went, no, you have to stay. How many people can Jesus be with at a time? Physically. When Jesus was on earth, how many people could he be with at a time? However many he could be in proximity to, right? That's how many people he could be with. If that were the case, if our peace were dependent on having Jesus physically with every one of us all the time, we'd be out of luck, right? So Jesus goes, I'm leaving, but I'm going to send you the Holy Spirit. The Spirit of God is going to come and live inside you, and he's going to give you peace, and he can be with all of you. My Spirit can be in all of you. And he's going, look, in this world, you're going to have trouble. And sometimes that trouble is going to hurt a lot. Sometimes that trouble is going to be really unfair. Sometimes that trouble is not because of anything that you've done, but because the world is broken. Because sin, the ways that people live against God, hurts people. And we need to come to an understanding, come to a place in our hearts where we get out of this mindset that our peace is dependent on not having trouble. Because a lot of times, that's our definition of peace, right? That's what those first paintings were. Those first paintings eliminated any kind of issue. It was calm. It was serene. It was secluded. How many of you live a life like that? How many of you have ever even had a day like that? There are very few. Yeah. And there are certain days when we get a glimpse of that, and I believe that those are glimpses of the grace of God. We have to get out of the mindset that in order to have peace, we just have to get rid of our problems. And we need to be willing to surrender all the ways that we want to try and bring peace for ourselves. And I said some of this last week. There is not enough alcohol you can drink to bring you peace. There is not a relationship you can have that's going to make you whole and complete. There is not enough popularity or money or success or grades or colleges to bring you peace. And yet the world tells us, if you can just do these things, then peace is attainable. And we get into this mindset of going, well, what peace is a life without problems. And I want to go back to this. That is not a life without problems. You're that little chick? That's terrifying. In this world, you'll have trouble. It's a promise of God. Just like his love, just like his forgiveness. Guess what? You're also promised trouble. Trouble with a capital T that rhymes with P that stands for pool. Right? Anybody know that show? It's really nice. Okay. This is not a life without trouble. You're going to have a life of trouble, but that doesn't mean you can't have peace. And I want to encourage you with that as you go into Christmas. For some of you, Christmas is a really hard time of year because it gets really stressful. For some of you, Christmas is a really hard time of year because there are some really broken relationships in your life. And Christmas makes you long for things to be right. And guys, I want to tell you that peace is available to you. Just like joy is. And it doesn't mean you have to somehow figure out your life and get everything perfect or be perfect. Peace is available to you. And I want so badly for you to believe that. Because God has promised to shelter us with his wings. In the midst of the storm, in the midst of the hurt and the pain and the stuff that you have a right to be angry about. Jesus says, I will take that. And I will heal you. And I will give you peace. And it's going to be a peace beyond your understanding. And it's going to be a peace that if you let me live this out in you, people around you are going to look at you and be like, how in the world do you have peace? How in the world can you have hope with the situation you're in right now? And the source is Jesus. And I know that sounds cliche and it sounds like, oh, well, that's what you're supposed to say. You know why I'm supposed to say it? Because it's true. And I'm going to keep saying it. So right now, would you just bow your heads with me? And again, I want to just ask you to consider where your mind is at. What's your mindset of peace? Do you believe, are you willing to believe in a God that's beyond your understanding? Or are you pretty sure you can figure him out? Are you willing to take, we sang earlier, sovereign, in your everlasting arms, all the pieces of my life. Is there any you're holding back? Because Jesus is inviting you to experience a peace beyond your understanding. And he wants to make you whole. He wants to give you life. Are you willing to go there? Are you willing to surrender all the things you've been trying and put your faith in a God that is beyond your understanding and let him give you peace?